We're in Chicago, standing on North Clark Street, at the site of one of the most infamous crimes in American history, the Saint Valentine's Day Massacre. Before we talk about what this place looks like today, it helps to understand just how violent it once was. This is what the police walked into on the morning of February 14, 1929. 6 men lay dying on the floor of a garage, blood pooled across the concrete, a 7th man barely clinging to his life. At the time, Chicago was deep in the grip of Prohibition. The city streets were controlled by gangs, and on the north side, the dominant figure was Bugs Moran. His main rival was Al Capone, one of the most notorious gangsters in history. Capone was living comfortably in Florida, far from the cold Chicago winter, but he still wanted control of the liquor running throughout this city. And that meant eliminating the competition. Bugs Moran owned a building right here on North Clark Street. It wasn't a hideout, it wasn't a headquarters, it was just a garage. Nothing that would have drawn attention in the days leading up to the massacre. The reason the men gathered here remains disputed. One version of the story claims Moran received a phone call offering a hijacked shipment of bootleg liquor for sale and scheduled to be delivered here at 10:30 in the morning. Other accounts say that makes no sense. The men inside weren't low-level workers, they were Moran's trusted inner circle. Well-dressed, experienced, and not the kind of people you'd expect to be unloading a truck. Another version claims they were simply there to meet Moran, who had recently been shot as his gang was losing territory to Capone. Whatever the truth is, on the morning of February 14th, 1929, 7 men were inside the garage, waiting. Moran himself was running late. At around 10:30 a.m., a black Cadillac pulled up out front. 2 men stepped out dressed as police officers. The others were in plain clothes. They walked calmly into the garage. Just moments later, Moran drove past the building. Seeing what looked like a police car outside, he assumed a raid was happening. Not wanting to get caught up in it, he turned the corner and went for a cup of coffee. That decision saved his life. Inside the garage, the 7 men were lined up against the back wall facing it. Then the shooting started. 2 Thompson submachine guns opened fire. The men worked methodically, sweeping the line of men multiple times. More than 70 rounds were fired. A shotgun was used to finish the job. It was a massacre. When it was over, the killers exited through the front door in broad daylight. 2 of them raised their hands, pretending to be under arrest, while the police officers escorted them away with weapons in hand. To anyone watching, it looked like a routine police bust. Neighbors didn't realize what had happened until they heard a dog barking nonstop inside the garage. When police arrived, they found 6 men dead on the floor. 1 man was still alive, despite being riddled with bullets. He had managed to crawl across the floor before collapsing. At the hospital, police had asked him who had done this. His answer was simple: no one shot me. Today, nearly a century later, the garage at 2122 North Clark Street is gone. This is now just an empty lot, but the violence didn't vanish with the building. When the garage was torn down, the bricks from the back wall, the wall where the men were lined up against, were preserved. They eventually made their way to the Mob Museum in Las Vegas. You can still see the bullet holes in them today. Bullet fragments recovered from the victims' bodies are also on display there. More evidence of what had happened inside this garage on Valentine's Day. Even though 2122 North Clark Street no longer exists, the building next door still does. That building, numbered 2120, appears in nearly every photograph taken the day after the massacre. The columns framing its doorway are the same ones you see in those historic images. For the most part, North Clark Street hasn't changed much since 1929, but standing here, it's hard not to imagine the sound of the gunfire echoing through this neighborhood. Officially, the crime remains unsolved. No one was ever convicted. But most historians believe the order came from one man, Al Capone. Bugs Moran survived the massacre, but his power never recovered. Capone, despite being in Florida at the time, got exactly what he wanted. And all these years later, this empty lot still carries one of the darkest chapters in history. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and happy Valentine's Day.